Week 14 saw a lot of things I didn't expect, but it was for the better. We saw some stellar division games. We saw players step up when they needed to. And now that we're only 4 weeks away to the end. Let's rock and roll there on the road to the postseason. Let's talk all about it. Full crew here tonight. Alex Young, Alex Raniello, Desmond Price, Bryan McKeon. Sub, gentlemen. This is a great time for us all to come back.
How are we doing, everyone?
Good.
5 weeks are over. We're all here now.
Yeah.
That's right. Bye weeks are done. And like I said, we are now on the road to the postseason pretty much. So let's get to it right away. Let's talk about the biggest story coming into this season, the biggest story coming into last week. There was a man who was drafted in the 7th round in the final pick named Brock Purdy. He has done nothing but win. And in his second game, in his first official start, going up against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, plays his ass off. Despite one injury to Deebo Samuel, which isn't as bad as it seems, things could not have gone any better for San Francisco on Sunday afternoon. And a stellar 35-7 victory, and the Bucs now are only a game up on their division, and they are in some serious trouble here. So we'll talk about both teams in this, but we're going to first talk about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. My question to you is, even though it's only been a game and a half, do you think Brock Purdy can lead the San Francisco 49ers into a deep playoff run? I think it's fair to say that they will be able to make it, but with this guy against this defense that has been so-so and did have players missing, do we like what we see with Brock Purdy, and he can be a special, maybe a Nick Foles story or a Hostetler story for the Giants back in 1990? What do we see coming out of this? Is Brock Purdy going to be somebody who is going to be playing here for a while? And is he going to lead the San Francisco 49ers to a deep playoff run?
So I'll start with this one. I couldn't name a better team for a rookie NFL quarterback who did have a very good college career to step into a situation and be able to succeed in. He has the number 1 defense in the league. He has an unlimited amount of weapons in his cache, and he has a great head coach that is offensive minded in a division that is lacking as of recent. So he's set up for success right now. He doesn't have to do much because of that defense and that run game, as we saw with McCaffrey and Mason. They went for 209 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns, including Purdy himself. With that defense, with all those takeaways, he is put in a situation where he can succeed by just doing game managing. Like, he doesn't have to do a lot. And I think that's why they can go on a deep run, because they can rely on other strengths besides forcing the quarterback to make clutch plays.
And also the specialty of having a really good tight end on your squad. Not every great quarterback has that ability. But great points on that one, Mr. McKeon. And I agree with you. I think Brock Purdy is in the right place at the right time. Simple as that.
Hey, Young, welcome back. You should go next.
No, okay. Yeah, I can go next. I mean, I agree totally with what Bryan said. He has so many weapons, so many home run hitters. It's not really hard you can tell that guy to throw it to McCaffrey on 5 yards out, and he can take it to the house on any play, right? Deebo, I know he got hurt, but he's expected to be back soon. You have that weapon out of the backfield who you could throw to. There's just so much talent on this team. Like Bryan said, all he has to do is game manage. Don't turn the ball over. Don't be the hero. Just play it smart. These guys that he has around him, literally, like I said, they can catch the ball and take it to the house on any play. Don't even have to throw bombs to them to get big games, right? And so I think they're just gonna, keep it going, not require him to do too much. And I think, the 49ers, this team is really, really good. They're really, really deep. And I think they can make a decent playoff run. They can just literally do the same thing they did when they have Jimmy G. They don't ask him to do too much, and they've gone on deep playoff runs before. So I think if they just kind of keep their same momentum going, then, he can lead the way too.
Yeah, I mean, this kid went to school at Iowa State. not really known for being a Big 12 power, but in order to be like competitive in that conference, you got to be able to basically score on every single possession. So you plug someone who was successful at that program into the 49ers attack, which basically all they ask any quarterback is just come in here and just be semi-efficient. And he's been able to do that better than Jimmy G, as far as I'm concerned. You know, he looks great out there. I think the offense actually takes a step up with him there. Obviously, Debo being hurt is going to be an issue for them for the next however long he's going to be out for, whether it's 3, 4, 5 games, whatever. But I mean, the story for me from this game was actually about like the San Francisco 49ers, like offensive line and their defensive lines. I mean, on offense, Christian McCaffrey was getting 8.5 yards per carry. That's insane. That's college stuff. Like they were destroying Tampa Bay's defense. On the defensive side, this is the 8th time this season the 49ers have held a team to 15 points or less. That is insane. That's like Madden statistics. I mean, whoever faces them in the playoffs needs to be scared. Like the end. This is the most dangerous team, I think, in the NFL right now.
I think you made an excellent point, Desmond, because I think when you're able to stop the run and you're able to run at will, you basically have an entire monopoly on the clock. And I think that, dominating time possession just gave, Purdy all the time in the world to operate and not worry about the situation at hand. And I think having that experience in college, playing against high-leveled offenses and having those kind of shootouts and 2-minute drills under his belt in his repertoire, he's going to be able to seamlessly, continue to grow in this into this system. And I think that having Shanahan at the helm is the best case scenario.
Now transitioning to that for the other team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's 2 weeks till Christmas. It's mid-December. This team only has 6 wins. And for this, Tom Brady goes to his home, buys 100 tickets for his friends and family, and only plays a terrible game. Despite getting 253 yards, throws a couple picks, not advancing the ball. His team got penalties on the offensive side, did not look good. And the next team we'll obviously talk about, especially Carolina, creeping up, winning 2 games back-to-back. They're only a game above the Falcons and the Panthers now. And if you're Tampa, you got to be disappointed. And especially when you still have your weapons healthy, it just didn't work. But this is definitely a result of that stellar defense San Francisco has and was just talked about. And maybe you feel this way when we talk. We're going to talk about Carolina's game against Seattle next. And this, what just so happened to be another NFC South versus NFC West game. With this situation here, though, gentlemen, how do you have any confidence that Tampa could win this division now? Maybe they'll sneak in, but you don't expect this team to win a playoff game at this point. This must be really concerning, and especially if people think Tom Brady will be leaving after this season to go somewhere else. This just really sucks if you're a Tampa Bay fan, I can imagine, right?
I think
people really thought that some people even would go as far as to them to win the whole NFC, and just isn't the case.
No, I think Tom's really showing his age, and I know he's saying he's weighing all of his options, but I think this is the time now to officially call it.
As a loser.
I mean, you can't always ride off into the sunset.
Oh, of course, you're
just
right.
seeing this team, and we all had high hopes, obviously, it's Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the offense, but just seeing this team just go so up and down, like throughout the whole year, I have no faith that they will go far into the playoffs. And we just saw that again against a very good 49ers team with a Mr. Irrelevant at quarterback who, like I said, is playing very, very good football. They got absolutely trounced. And we saw them happen to inferior teams, and now the better teams are beating them. And Brady just hasn't looked good in my eyes, just from what I see. And he has the talent there. I know injuries and stuff occur, but if he wants to write his own narrative, and I know sometimes you don't write off the sunset of losing season, but I think it's time for him to eventually call it. And it sucks for us football fans. It sucks for the Bucs fans, for their future and everything going forward. But, I don't think any of us have faith that this team, if they luckily win the South with probably a losing record at this point, whoever wins the South is probably going to have a losing record.
And still host a playoff game.
Yeah. I don't think any of us are going to think, even if it is the Bucks, that they will make it anywhere out of the first round. There's no way.
Excellent point, Alex. Yeah, he now really looks like a 45-year-old man out there.
Well, it's easy to make someone look older when you have no one on the offensive line healthy and you can't consistently run the ball and you have poor coaching and poor play calling. So
Yeah, Leonard Fournette also looks really old out there too.
Yeah, everybody does.
Mhm.
And they've had a banged up receiving core, particularly with AB doing his whole nonsense last season. And Godwin back out in the lineup after a gruesome injury last year. So it's just been a misalignment and with the coaching staff and this roster, guys not being healthy, not being committed, and a lot of sideline distractions, honestly, with Brady's personal life and a lot of other players as well. So I think that this is kind of just one of those, unfortunately, one of those lost seasons due to a lot of mitigating factors. And I think that he's going to have his sights set to San Fran next year, personally.
Which shouldn't be available to him now that Brock Purdy's emerged. But
and Trey Lance is coming back.
What's going to happen to Trey Lance?
That's a question for the offseason podcast.
Absolutely.
The Bucks look old and slow, and I don't think it's just Brady either. I mean, Fournette has 500 rushing yards on the year. He's got only 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, when you're looking at Godwin, Evans, Gage, Jones, like these dudes are having such a hard time getting open. Like there's no separation. Brady's as immobile as he's ever been. He's under more pressure than he's ever been under. His safety blanket for the last decade's gone. I mean, Gronk. And all that being said, he still has 3,500 passing yards on the year and 17 touchdowns. I mean, like I don't think he's done, as crazy as that sounds, but this team is done. Like this team is done, and they have a very winnable schedule down the road here, but they can't score points. I don't think it even matters. Like whoever wins this division is going to get just like bounced in the first round by Dallas anyway. But yeah, I don't put this all on Brady, to be honest with you. I think this is a team failure in my eyes.
I agree.
Couldn't agree more with that. And I was thinking of free agency, like he definitely will either retire or leave. And it's just a shame that certain like dysfunctional organizations wouldn't be appealing to him, because imagine Washington with Tom Brady right now, with that defense and those receivers and running backs right now. But they have a dysfunctional front office, so there's no way he would join that. But like, just imagine all the teams that will be in this lottery for Tom Brady to possibly, go and do another run like he did in Tampa Bay.
Can I interject real quick? Who would have thought at the beginning of the season that a January 8th Bucks Falcons game could be so pivotal? Because and it's like the Bucks have to go to play Cincy, and then they're going to Arizona, which is now basically virtually a bye. But then they have to play Carolina, and then they end the year with Atlanta, and Atlanta almost has a similar situation, but instead of their bye at Arizona, they're playing the Ravens, and they get to go to Arizona the following week. So I think it's funny.
Don't discount Colt McCoy as a quarterback, all right? He's won with that Carolina team. Or the
Cardinals,
he's won with the Cardinals, so he can
anyone can beat the Bucks in their condition right now. I don't think they should take any of these final 4 games for granted. I mean, they face the Bengals this week. Does anyone think they're going to win that game?
No chance. But what I really want to mention is no one's talking about how we're talking about age and the offensive aging. This defense went from top 5 to like last, and they look very old. Like the secondary looks washed, and they were I would call them like a poor man's Pro Bowl kind of secondary, where none of them made the Pro Bowl, but they were just below it, where you wouldn't have to pay them big contracts, but you still got near quality Pro Bowl talent. Like, where is the coverage? And they're really missing Shaq Barrett after the Achilles because they have no pass rush.
No, the last thing I want to say on this: last year, Bucks offense second in the league points per game. This year, 28th.
It shows you the NFL is a special league that truly anything can change within a year, and this time it's just not going to happen. What?
Oh, sorry, Matt. I was going to say, you know what the NFL stands for? Not for long.
Exactly. So, having said that, and staying open with the NFC South, we saw the Panthers take on the Seattle Seahawks and win. They won. Sam Darnold goes in and helps get that victory. Record Seattle loses again. No Kenneth Walker this time again. But yeah, things did not pan out the way they were expected to. And now, as I mentioned, with Sam Darnold at the helm, this was a team we made fun of often. This was a team that we made fools of. And as mentioned, they're only a game behind the Tampa Bay Bucks right now. And if they can get forgive me as I see who they play next week. Is anyone else on the top of their head? They play the Steelers, which is a very winnable game. And as mentioned to Desmond, they're playing the Bucks are playing the Bengals, a very losable game. And they can wind up getting tied after this. And we could tie this in because the Falcons did have a bye this week. The Falcons play the Saints, the worst team in the division. And this could now turn into a major three-way tie after this week. Do we expect that when we meet a week from today? Do we think that this is going to be a three-way tie?
Most
I'd
likely.
put money on it.
Yeah, I would put money on that too.
And having said that, now with Carolina rising with people like Chuba Hubbard coming in, rushing well, and then we have, like I said, Sam Darnold, the third quarterback this year they're using with an interim head coach. Are we impressed by Carolina? Do we think this will be a special story that they're going to be the ones to win the division? And I'll go and say yes. I think they're going to pull it off somehow, some way. And, I'll go more into that a little later, but I'm going to pick Carolina right now to win the NFC South with a losing record.
I would definitely. Desmond, you go first. Yeah, you go first.
It is impossible to pick this division. All four of these teams are not trying. I mean, they are trying to win. At the same time, they are finding every possible way to lose. So, I mean, like, if you could reliably bet on any of them, I'd call you crazy. I'm going to pick the Falcons for one reason only, because they're putting in a new quarterback this week. And at least he's an unknown variable in this equation, because everything else that we know from the Saints and the Panthers and the Bucks and the Falcons is all trash as far as I'm concerned. So I'll take the Falcons to win the NFC South right now. The Panthers have been winning, but they're winning against teams who are basically just finding ways to lose. Like, they ran down Seattle's throat this week. Yep. Seattle was like playing as if they had never seen a running play before in their life. They just kept running it up the middle, play after play after play, and just getting gashed. It was embarrassing. The Seattle Seahawks defense lost that game for them, and I feel bad for Geno Smith, who actually should be the comeback player of the year, in my opinion.
Now, that's a debate. Should the comeback player of the year come back from injury or just come back from sucking, for lack of a better word?
I think it works. I mean, the NBA is rolling out a bunch of different awards. Maybe we'll start getting, like the
comeback player of the year is
the turnaround award, season. Though. Yeah, but I always alluded the comeback player of the year award for someone being hurt. Like, I never affiliated with someone being like, their career is over and all of a sudden they have a absolutely brilliant season.
Coming back from being a backup.
You could. It could.
I'm
gonna try to find the player that we can make that award named after. Like I said, the NBA made a bunch of new awards based on people. We should find someone's career.
Yeah, you did suck.
I got it.
Name it that.
Yeah, the Nick Foles Award for most relevant.
There we go. There we go.
But then again, he went to irrelevancy after that. So I feel like you should end
it's
an
individual season award. It's just this season. Doesn't matter what happens afterwards.
Take a little blimp. Honestly, maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick, because he was the king of being bad, one good season in the contract year, 2-year deal, first year great, second year awful, and then repeated the cycle 3 times. So
that's a Harvard education coming in, though. He knew when to be good.
Genius. Why would you want to be good when you could get CTE in the NFL? He knows the assignment.
He's great.
I'll say one thing about this Carolina team. Great run game. This interim head coach, I think, might be able to get himself a head coaching position in Steve Wilkes in Carolina, just because the defense is playing phenomenal, because they playing really well. The run game is very sound. I think they found their 1-2 punch for the future in Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, both very good running backs. And here's my question for you guys. If they make it to the playoffs, does Sam Darnold earn another year being a starter for the Carolina Panthers?
Absolutely.
I say yes. Yeah. What were you going to say, Matt?
I was just saying, come off the bench like that and, just winning games. I think that's the one thing to value as a quarterback that can win games. And I mean, he isn't doing. He's not the Sam Darnold at USC. He's just figuring out the right players at the right time, especially after, like his boy Robbie Anderson gets traded and figuring out who you can with these misfits, and they're winning. So I think he's earned at least consideration for that.
And people also
mind you,
yeah. What are you gonna say, Brian?
mind you, he's been in the rawest deals of rawest deals in the NFL. Like, he was given the Jets under Adam Gase. Like, I'm sorry, but like Tom Brady as a rookie would have been out of a job if he was on that Jets team. And then he went to this dysfunctional Matt Rule roller coaster and had it. Like, imagine getting traded. All right, you had a bad season last year, you got hurt, and then getting in and you get Baker Mayfield walking in. Like, talk about as a constant slap in the face. He has a chip on his shoulder, definitely, but like, let's see him actually in a competent offense with a coach that is actually like of relevance. Like, this right here, like, he's doing his job finally with the right tools. He's actually prepared.
I got one pushback for that one, though. I think that if I'm the Panthers, I draft a quarterback in the first round, but I let Darnold start the year and see until he trips up. Because I think that even in a bad offense, you can show how good you can be. I mean, because like, I think Justin Herbert, for instance, he is in a bad situation. His coaching staff is horrendous. They don't have a good plan for him. They don't really know how to use him that well. I think Sunday night was probably the best he's looked all season because they finally started like rolling him out of the pocket a little bit, let him be a little bit more mobile because his offensive line's so suspect. But I mean, I think we've seen enough from Sam Darnold to know that he's not going to be a top 10 quarterback in this league.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget too, for whatever reason, like last year when he was with Carolina, he started off the season really, really well, and then he went back to MetLife to play the Giants and reverted back to the old Sam Darnold that just, I don't know if it was the MetLife juju or just something mentally, and then he kind of just didn't look like the Sam Darnold for the rest of the season. But there's flashes there again last year that we saw, and I think we're kind of seeing that. He's not going to blow you away stat-wise, but I think if he leads this team down the stretch and gets them a division, I think he does deserve another shot. And I agree with Desmond. I think you draft your guy, the person you want, and Sam, until Sam falters, he can learn and process the game, because I think we need to go back to that anyway with young rookie quarterbacks. And you learn from Darnold, you learn from everything else, and then, like I said, if all everything falls apart, then okay, let's give this rookie a shot. But I think if he does lead them to the playoffs, he deserves another chance next season.
I think regardless of whether he leads them to the playoffs, I think that he should still get a second chance, and the reason being is because you got a few tough games down the stretch of the end of the season here, and I think that there's a lot of moving parts. I think the one thing that Carolina really needs is stability, top down from this organization. The only issue is that they have a multi-billion-dollar owner that's very impulsive and wants to get regime change in as soon as possible. So I have a bad suspicious feeling that they're probably going to go into the draft in the middle of this first round, trade a bunch of assets, laterally to get a higher pick and wipe the slate clean. And I don't think that's really fair to Darnold, considering what Brian mentioned about what he's been through. But we'll see what happens.
You know who doesn't have stability? You know who makes a fool out of themselves?
Tom Brady.
Not this time. I mean, how do you cheer for a team, Alex? Again, this time the Raiders go against the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday night. Baker Mayfield joins the team on Tuesday, and on Thursday he gets his first victory, a comeback victory against the Las Vegas Raiders. This team this year has lost to interim head coaches who start their career in the middle of the season, never having head coach professionals. There's this situation here where you lose to Baker Mayfield, who everybody made fun of. And at the cold opening of the show, we all collectively said Baker Mayfield's a joke. And all he did was come back for as part of another franchise who has their own problems. And it just happens again. The Raiders lose 17-16 in a game that they, in general, seems to not have their grab. It looked really good so far. Max Crosby is looking like Max Crosby, and I don't know. It's almost like they purposely don't want to help Josh McDaniels out there, and you suffer another embarrassing loss again. And I don't know if we saw Derek Carr cry this time, but this was bad. This was really, really bad, dude.
As well.
I mean, I don't know what else to really say besides this just sucked. And if there's anything else to add, whether you want to denounce your fandom right now and want to join another team, we understand at this point. If you want to start a GoFundMe to buy the team, that's been in the Davis family for generations, we could start with that. I mean, this is really the only talking point here. I mean, Rams, they're going to start Baker Mayfield this week, but they're not going anywhere. I think this is just an example of a nice feel-good story on a Thursday night because there's not much else happening with this Rams team. But yeah, dude, what's Mr. Raniello thinking tonight about his Raiders?
I think they should probably take McDaniels to they should take him to the gallows and never let him out again. I mean, this guy's just an embarrassment. I told you guys I would stop watching this team about 6-8 weeks ago, and I stood by it. So while you were trying to falsely gaslight me over the past few weeks with a 3-game winning streak, I was very happily blocking it out. So I appreciate it.
Hey, man, there's something, we could always talk about how long do we stick to our teams throughout our entire life. And I hope we all live up until our 100s or whatever. But bottom line, I hope we continue to live long, healthy, special lives. And even with our teams, we're all pretty young guys. But even when our teams really piss us off and really know how to get under our skin, I can't really say even for the 5 and 6 years like the New York Giants have been embarrassing, but it's just such a parody that the fact that this team is losing in these literal comedy sketch routines of football games. As I mentioned, whether it's a coach who literally was picked off of ESPN to coach and win, and then you have this situation here with Baker, who everyone's making fun of. I don't think this will exactly transition for the rest of the season, but this is, I guess, really this is the world really testing your loyalty, Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, luckily I have lots of things to do, so my fandom, my fandom takes a nice backseat, particularly with this team. So all is good over here. The sun will still be up tomorrow, and there will be a silver lining. So.
All right, we really respect that. We really do.
Alex, when the Raiders no longer were relevant, when they pulled the index card out and they measured that 4th down against Dallas. That's when the Raiders died.
Fair point.
Oh, the pain. Oh, the pain. Well, moving on. Let's talk about Mike White again. Let's talk about how he was not able to produce a victory for the Jets. Jets go out to Orchard Park to lose to the Bills. Mike White got his ass kicked, but he kept coming in. And, that's all you have to do to have the world love you and the internet and the mainstream sports media. There's nothing Mike White can do wrong. It's amazing how much momentum the Jets still have, even losing in this divisional game, as the Bills help improve their record and trying to secure home field advantage down the road. They went toe-to-toe, but major turnovers killed their chance to win, especially when we saw Michael Carter fumble the ball near the end zone, which cost them the game. But regardless, do we, out of this matchup, especially with the AFC East in this, what did you really get out of both these teams?
Mike White is the future of the franchise, absolutely.
So you would start him right away. You would start him right away.
This game,
you really
to me,
think so? You really don't think the Jets should go and get one of these multiple veteran options next year, whether Lamar Jackson, Derek Carr, dare I say Aaron Rodgers, or Tom Brady? You say keep Mike White.
I say keep Mike White for this reason. You have a lot of rookies that you're going to have to pay, which means that if you sign a top quarterback, you're going to lose either Elijah Moore or Garrett Wilson eventually, one or the other. You're going to have to pay Sauce Gardner top cornerback money. And now,
I mean, that is years away, though. To be
no,
fair.
yeah, but it's years away though. But if you start, you got to remember, like, what happens if you sign a veteran quarterback and he doesn't turn out well, like Russell Wilson, and then you have dead cap for 6 seasons following after. So there's a lot of things to take in. But in my opinion, he's been disciplined, he's been poised, he has a big arm. But what really impresses me is this: most quarterbacks, after getting 2 significant rib injuries and to the chest and torso, would just pull out of the game. But what did he do? He got out. He got an X-ray. He went back in, kept them in the game. He got hurt again, and he went back in and he tried to continue to extend and try to win this game on a game-winning drive. And he didn't because of a fumble. But when I see him, I see everything I want in a quarterback, and especially in a big media New York market where I personally see as the New York Jets are like the blue-collar New York team. I think over the Giants, in my opinion. To me, Giants is a very corporate fan base. The Jets are blue-collar boys, and this guy fits that mold.
I disagree. I don't think Mike White's your starting quarterback next year. This guy still needs to win games ultimately. All you people love Mike White, but he hasn't won many games. And that's the thing, especially for a Jets franchise that hasn't been in the playoffs in a whole decade. The best ability is availability, and he's had problems staying on the field before. And that's just the hard reality that this guy needs to stay on the field and produce wins for this franchise. If you could pull off these very crucial games, especially against Jacksonville and Detroit, then you have a better point. But if the season ended tomorrow, I wouldn't say start him. I wouldn't say start him week 1 next year. That's what I have to say with that.
I would definitely start him at the beginning of next year.
Oh, people are nuts.
I think that I don't know what it is, man. I never lived in New York. I lived, next to Philly, but I feel like New York people, y'all are way too harsh on some of these athletes that like play for your sports teams. I mean, like, you guys like demand championships like right now. Like
Hell
right
yeah.
now. Like calm down, okay? Like give the guy a season. I mean, if we had kicked out Jalen Hurts after his first bad season, I mean, this is his 3rd season technically right now. If we had kicked him out beforehand, we would have never gotten to this position. Sometimes you got to give people a chance, like build something around them. They have a good coaching staff. I think Salah's a good guy. I think he's building a great culture there. Build around this guy. Give him a season or 2 to see what he's got. I mean, he's under a rookie contract. I mean, you have a great defense. I mean, I don't see a good reason for bringing in like a veteran. Like, I think Brian's correct on this. I think you got to build around Mike White. They might not make the playoffs. I don't know that we should even be judging.
That'd be a huge disappointment for the Jets if they don't make the playoffs this year. That'd be really.
But when you look at the remaining schedule, though, it looks set up for them that they might just like stumble all the way down. I mean,
this
facing
game was
the Lions, the Jags, the Seahawks, the Dolphins. I mean, those are all challenging. They might not win any of them.
They could go 0-4. They're playing the top. Yeah. They're playing 4 top 10 offenses in the league.
They should have treated the Bills game like it was their playoffs. This week would have been
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But even if they go 0-4, I'm still buying Mike White stock. I think you got to go into the offseason with him as your starter, give him that full 2023 season, and then at the end of next year, you know what you got. I think if you're a Jets fan, you know what? You've won a Super Bowl since the 1960s, so calm down. You can wait another year to see what you got with this guy.
But again, go ahead, Brian.
One comment. Put it like this: if they lose the next 4, right, based on where everything's trajectory right now, so he's now started 7 games this season, the last 7. He would have then only beaten the Bears, but realistically, the Bills are the number 1 seed. The Vikings are the number 2 seed. The Lions are probably going to be the 7th seed in the NFC. And Seattle and the Dolphins are 2 playoffs teams. And Jacksonville's on the come up. He's lost to 6 playoff teams. And
but that's the thing, though. If you're a great quarterback, you're going to beat these teams. Well, like we can't play this. We can't play this special game of.
What are we talking about?
He's got to win these games. If he's as good as all you are playing, you got to win. You have to win the damn game.
He's only started for 5 or 6 games. Like, you put it like this. Ready? If you put Mike White on the Giants, the Giants right now would have even a better record than they have now because he's a competent quarterback. Like there is no comparison on anything of, you have to win games. It's the NFL. It happens. He's played the Vikings, who have a horseshoe up their ass, and the Bills somehow.
Okay, then why did he lose to them? That was a winnable game. They lost by
Matt,
what,
who's the
5
better
points?
quarterback
Yeah,
right
a
now?
guy
Is it
fumbled.
Mike White or Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones, Mike White, easy.
We're not talking
Exactly.
about that right now. But anyways,
And put it like this:
listen,
ready?
I will say this though: if he does in these next 4 games, if he wins 3 out of 4, then I'll stand correct on this, and he's definitely earned his spot. But like I said, you have to win these games too. You can't keep them close.
You know you
Oh
would
yeah,
take
but I'll
on
say
the
this though.
Giants
Ready?
right now.
Look at the Vikings. The Vikings, he did his job. He scored, and then the Vikings went down the field and scored. That's not on him. That's the defense. Now go to the Bills game. He was hurt. He still played well, and then his running back fumbled. That isn't him. He didn't throw a pick. His own guy fumbled, which means it's not his fault.
So-
I'm just sorry.
I gotta totally agree with Bryan and Desmond here. I just think that even if he did go 0-4, you have to give him time to progress because he's a young quarterback. Again, the Jets have 0 to no stability in the past that they can rely on, and there's going to become a payday for all these top picks that have been coming through the draft that they've successfully hit on. And in order to keep that stability in the locker room, you have to start paying these guys that are producing. I think what's hurting them more than anything really is losing Breece Hall for the year because you don't have a run game to rely on anymore, and you can't keep a defense honest. And I think that this guy's he's made tougher than a $4 steak. I mean, he's egoless in my opinion. And I think he's just the exact antithesis, to what Zach Wilson was, and I think that's why this team and the city likes him more than what they would have had with Zach Wilson. I just think that in this circumstance, in this offense, when you have an adequate offense, run game going, you just need a game manager. You don't need a guy to be gangbusters, be a top 10 quarterback. You need a serviceable guy, 15 through 20 in the league, that's going to stay out of his own way, manage a game, and win you tight, close games, and make a couple plays when you need them.
Sorry, you go.
Last take. Zach Wilson in 20 starts has 3,600 passing yards. In 6 starts for Mike White, he has 1,900. The man is a gunslinger.
Yeah, there's definitely no doubt he definitely is good on the release, and he has a much better arm. But I still think this guy needs to win some games before we all go crazy.
I was going to say one thing too, real quick, just because I think his deal's ending, but what that helps the Jets because he's not going to demand top flight money, so they'll have that. You take a flyer on him, and like we're all saying, how the team responded when they made him the starter, the offense completely changed. It looked like
that is true.
When Zach Wilson was there, at times it literally looked like no one was having fun on the field. It looked like I don't even know, what's going on. He starts. They were just putting up points. They can put up points now, and this team's special. And I think we all know that. I think the future is very bright for this Jets team. And you keep the guy that will keep the locker room there until they find their guy. It's not going to be Zach Wilson. It could be someone else. But everyone loves and responds to Mike White, and he deserves a chance. And you don't have to pay him a boatload of money. And you can keep him there, and then you can find your guy if it doesn't work out in a year or two. But he definitely deserves a shot because of how this team responded to him when they named him the starter. Everyone wanted him.
Excellent point. Excellent point on that. So, focusing on the AFC East right now, we have the Dolphins, though, lose a tough one on Sunday night. It seems things were not clicking on offense. Let me just ask this: Justin Herbert back? Because now with this win, they are back in the mix.
Herbert's there. Their Chargers aren't back. That's the thing.
That's a good way to put it.
I want to give Desmond the floor here on this segment because he was the first guy up with the pom-poms for Miami. So I want to hear an explanation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm not done with the pom-poms just yet. I think Tua shook out there. And it's obvious to see. I mean, he had a 35% completion percentage when he was in a clean pocket. So, I mean, like with no pressure in his face whatsoever, he was still completely inaccurate. And looking at how the Miami receivers just weren't getting open, I mean, honestly, it just felt like the Chargers defense just stepped up. I mean, they were locking down Tyreek Hill. They were locking down Jalen Waddle. And
they were
it looked like Tua just didn't know how to respond to that. Like he was trying to like force the situation instead of just taking safer throws. And I think you saw a quarterback kind of like get flustered and not like kind of respond to the moment. And the coaches didn't really respond to the moment either. They didn't find a way to kind of game plan in the moment to kind of go away from what the Chargers were doing to them defensively. So I think this is an all around just like L for the Dolphins. And with that being said, they only lost by a touchdown. So I'm not really dropping too much stock in the Dolphins right now, but they definitely are having back-to-back like bad games right now. And I think they're also in danger of falling out of this playoff race if they don't figure it out soon, because I think they have the talent to make a deep run in the playoffs, but poise is just as important as talent in this league, and they're not showing any poise right now against these better teams.
I guess the reason for calling you out on it was not necessarily to put you on the spot, but particularly because I wanted to have the discussion about more of the AFC hierarchy as a whole, and particularly when we start looking at the playoff picture coming down these last 4 or 5 weeks, because I think this says much more about Miami than it does the Chargers. I don't really see the Chargers posing any real threat down here at the stretch, even if they do become a wild card team. But I definitely have grave concerns about Miami as a whole. Not only just Tua, but their inability to run the ball, and just not having a balanced attack on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, Miami is the most unproven commodity in this AFC race. I mean, we've seen Burrow and the Bengals, Allen and the Bills, Mahomes and the Chiefs. We know what we're going to get from them in the postseason. We don't know what to expect from the Dolphins because this is their first time being good. So I didn't know what to expect going into this, like these last few games, because I'm just like, how is Tua going to respond to adversity? And we've been finding out the last 2 games, not well.
I'm going to have a sort of hot take. I think this is against what I've been saying the entire season. I think that Tua, after injury, he really proved that he can be the guy. The last 2 games have now made me realize that he is not the guy. And this team is now open to the Tom Brady sweepstakes. Absolutely. This has been reopened because this is a team waiting for a competent quarterback who, I'm sorry to say it, Tua struggles when he gets pressure. Why? Not because he's athletic or mobile, and he's not athletic or mobile, and he can't get out of the pocket. Why? He's short. I'm sorry. He can't see over the offensive line, because I was watching the game, and I actually at one point saw him go on his tippy toes to throw a ball over an offensive lineman. Like, I'm sorry. Good job doing your calf raises mid-game, but, like, that ain't going to cut it when you got to plant the foot and throw it 60 yards down the field. Now, he has this system is good for him because this is like a Kyle Shanahan kind of system where they could succeed with almost any quarterback. Mind you, this team with similar talent minus Tyreek Hill did well with Ryan Fitzpatrick not with McDaniel, but with a different head coach. So like they have weapons that can be efficient with multiple, levels of quarterbacks and experience. So in my eyes, they might want to look to upgrade just because there's always going to be uncertainty with Tua. But also, since you mentioned Tyreek Hill did get locked down and he still had 4 catches, 81 yards and a touchdown. The fact that that's locking down Tyreek Hill is just a credit to his amazingness.
Yeah, he seemed like the only receiver to really break out in this game.
Well, yeah, he also made that corner trip over himself with his speed, which I don't think I've seen in like a long time. If you go back and watch that replay, I was like, oh, they got tangled up. No, he was trying so hard to keep pace that he clipped off his own cleat and just completely face planted. Like it's the wildest thing. And I'm like, that's why the Dolphins brought this guy in. And that's why, the Chiefs have been fine, but like that's why it was a cheat code, because Mahomes was just like, I could just bomb into this guy and he's gonna do something. And Tua had that same thing. He was just like, yeah, he's in 1-on-1. I'll just float it up and see if he comes down with it. And sure enough, the corner tripped, just jogged right into the end zone, right? So, I mean, the Tua thing was concerning. I was watching a lot of that game. I just feel like the first half he was trusting all of his throws, and at least these last 2 games to me, he either seems rushed. He just doesn't feel like he's confident behind those throws anymore. And I don't know why that is when he has so many good weapons around him. And there's been pressure at times, but like Desmond said with the stat, when he has a clean pocket, he's still just not, doing great. And he's had one of the top completion, percentages in the league. So it is a little concerning these last 2 weeks. I'm not giving up on Tua yet. I don't know if it was the Tom Brady sweepstakes there. I don't even know if Tom Brady would be great on this Dolphins team, honestly, because I don't know if he has the, arm ability to get Tyreek's ball, or whatever the case, bombs and stuff like Tua can. But I think they just need to really go back to what made everything work, was get a run game early and then get to his shots to the game wreckers, to the Waddles, to the Hills. And for some reason, these last 2 weeks, he just doesn't have the confidence. He just seems like he's just forcing the throw and hoping these guys come down with it.
Yeah, I'm trying to pump my brakes here on this one because it could be easy to like dogpile on Tua after having back-to-back terrible games. But if they go up to Buffalo this week and they beat the Bills, everyone's gonna be singing a different song next week.
Mm-hmm. No, it's
I
definitely
totally-
true.
I totally agree.
So then in that case, great points throughout, and we'll really table it when we talk about our picks at the end of the show and see how it all unfolds next week. But sticking with the AFC East, the Patriots and the Cardinals played on Monday night, and for a team that looks so dysfunctional in the Patriots, where we have players yelling at coaches, it seems players were not meshing well, Aguilar and Parker, they still get a win. In this game also, we saw Kyler Murray tear his ACL on a non-contact injury. We definitely send our thoughts and prayers out to him for that. And, no one wants to see that, but his season is done, and we might not see him at all next year for how late in the season this injury has taken place.
Mhm.
But for a Cardinals team, only thing to mention now, this season's done for them. As Alex said, we won't get, I won't go as far as say it's a bye every week, but they are much more vulnerable moving forward for the final 4 weeks of the season. And I guess we'll see if Cliff Kingsbury stays. But with this, and what's also sucks for the Jets is with this win, Bill Belichick now has a fighting chance to stay in the wild card race with this. And I don't know about you guys. I think this dysfunction amongst them, even with the win, and when you have your own quarterback tell your coordinator to fuck off, whether they deserve it or not, I think this is honestly not going to work out
like
down
it.
the line.
Of
course, I like it
Yeah.
for sure, but when you see teams that really have infighting, no matter the sport, it doesn't result into wins down the road. Good win today. Good win yesterday for the Patriots, but I think we're gonna have to see Bill Belichick put his foot down moving forward. And if there is a coach who could do it, he is the guy. But amongst their emotions getting to them, do you see the Patriots figuring it out ultimately and sneaking into the playoffs despite players and coaches not really meshing well? And especially from what I read with Patricia and Judge, it's them leading the special teams and defensive minded coaches leading the offense. It is really starting to turn into a head that is about to explode.
Yeah, I don't see it being feasible. I just think there's such a lack of communication between coaching and players on offense. Like Mac Jones every week is upset, and I think we're giving him a lot of I think we're giving Mac Jones a lot of shit when really no one would succeed when you have Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as your offensive coordinators. Like, he's doing the best he can with a limited scheme. I thought this was his best quarterback game and just his awareness and stuff like that, because he didn't have a run game because Ramondre Stevenson got out. So those big flashy plays were gone. They could only really do well in the red zone at the run, and that's just because it's only 20 yards. You fall forward, you get a quarter of the way there. So it's not that difficult. And he hit open a lot of wide receivers and tight ends. They got open. He was able to dig and dunk, and he did his job. So I don't think the ruling is out yet still on Mac Jones, but they need, this is an indictment on Bill Belichick. What are you doing? You are this big, bad Hall of Fame, the best coach ever. You have a family coaching tree that is longer than any tree in the redwoods of California. Why aren't you able to get an offensive coordinator in the offseason? And don't say because Bill O'Brien went back to Alabama. You have more people under your tree. The second closest person might be Bill Parcells and Andy Reid. So this is no excuse.
Well, yeah, and now he looks like an old 70-year-old coaching when you put it that way.
And I also don't know why, for me, Matt, too, as Giants fans, why you would let Joe Judge touch anything with the offense. especially what we all saw last year at the
I
end
don't
of the
know
season
why
with
he's
the
coaching.
Giants.
He should
I
coach
don't know
high
why he's
school.
back either.
He should coach baseball.
But yeah, I
Not
mean,
even.
yeah, not even. But I don't know. I like to see the fire from Mac, but like Brian said, like I understand why he's frustrated because he had a consistent guy who's been proven an offensive coordinator to leave, and you don't bring someone in who is just. I'm not saying you can replace a guy like McDaniels. He's a great offensive mind, but get a young guy or someone that is just very offensive minded, who's in the new age of the NFL. It can scheme stuff for you to be successful, like we saw last year with Mac. And now this year, it seems like he is like, okay, now I have to be calling stuff because these two have no idea what the hell is going on half the time. And I can understand why he's saying, like, do this, do that. And it looks like it's infighting, but it's because he's frustrated. And I completely understand why. It's the Patriots, like Brian said. How does someone not be like, Bill call someone and be like, hey, you want your chance? I heard you have great offensive knowledge, even if it's college games. You want to come over here? And someone not being around, and he's like, oh, I'll just go to Patricia and Judge. Yeah, I'll go to the guy who, kneeled the ball or on the 2-yard line late in the Giants last season to trust a young rookie mind to call, the shots. Like, that's smart. It's really, really weird. It's one of the weirdest things I've seen Bill make. Usually we see him all make great decisions. But this year, to me, it just seems like everything. The cracks are starting to build in New England, and it's kind of surprising.
He's really showing that he's not this great-minded coach because, like, if I'm this great-minded coach, like, I'm calling Jason Garrett. Like, you could say, oh, he didn't do good against as a Giants OC. I think that's more of just the player personnel and Joe Judge. Like, Jason Garrett on Dallas led high-scoring offenses his entire career. Scott Linehan, like, I could name there's 2 Dallas guys I know who Patriots definitely know because we play them a bunch of times. There's a ton of people across the NFL at the offensive position because, in my opinion, that's the most volatile coaching position, OC, because that's always one of the first fires of an offseason. Defensive coaches, after a year or two, they usually stay put, like, and they solidify 5 years at least. Like, it's really a shame. I'm so confused.
I really hope that the Patriots enjoyed this win against the Cardinals because it's the last win they're going to have this season. The Patriots are going to go 0-4.
That's what I'm seeing
in the remaining 4 games here. Mac Jones has the 4th worst QBR in the entire league this year. And the Patriots offense, I mean, the only time that they actually do any good when they're up against terrible defenses like the Cardinals, who, I mean, there were certain plays last night where they didn't even try to get in front of New England's running back. They just let them go. They might throw like a quick shoulder into it, but guys were literally just not even trying to tackle. It was kind of pathetic to watch. The Patriots aren't that good. Mac Jones isn't that good. I mean, all this talks about what they should do. It's great off-season chatter because there's nothing that they can do to salvage their season going forward, I believe. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs at all. They're going to get bounced out.
They're certainly not going to make the playoffs. I totally disagree that they're going to go 4. They will certainly have a bye this Sunday. But yeah,
Raiders will win.
No, I mean, I think I'm pretty much deadlock aligned with Brian on this one. I think that most of the responsibility and onus of this is on the footsteps of Belichick. I mean, he's had this entire organization in his back pocket for at least a decade now, if not longer. But I think that you almost have to be skeptical and concerned when of a superiority complex evolving when you give general management ownership rights to a coach and allow him to lead the coaching staff and make those positions. Because the thing is that we always understood that he was a pretty exceptional coach, or at least that was the consensus across the league in terms of his respect for him with Brady. But I think that when you start delegating more power at a general manager level, that's where you start having rose-colored glasses when you're doing hiring and acquisition. And I think that's really what started to lead him too far off the reservation. So I think that maybe curtailing some of those powers in the offseason may be a move for Robert Kraft and the organization. Otherwise, they're going to have to take a hard, long look at what they want to do as a long-term plan, either renewing or letting Belichick move after the offseason.
Couldn't agree more. I just want to make one last comment just on a health standpoint. In the NFL, it's an embarrassment how both these teams, the CTE concussion doctor and the league handle the Devontae Parker hit in this game. That the fact that kudos to Nelson Aguilar being a real teammate, because that man saw his friend literally incoherent, lining up and struggling to place his foot straight on the line. And he actually took a knee and waved it down a referee because no one noticed that he was out of it completely, his fellow teammate. So it just continues to show me that, these players really are pawns in this league. And if they want actually quality football to occur, it's time to start listening to players, actually play on grass, not turf. And actually, let's take concussion protocol and the way people get up off of getting cracked and their head hitting the ground a little more serious.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing before we transition to the next topic here. Alongside of the turf thing, like moving towards grass, having better concussion protocols, like maybe just having players like definitely sitting out the rest of the game and maybe missing the next game if they get a concussion. I said it before, say it again. The NFL needs a second bye week, especially like seeing like Kyler Murray's, like non-contact injury, which is going to be a torn ACL, which might end his career, to be honest with you, with how he plays. This might honestly be like he'll never be the same again. The NFL needs a second bye week. There's no downside to it. You're extending the week. You're extending the league another week. It's just more TV revenue for these people. They're going to make more money this way, and the players will actually end up having a better like health situation, which keeps them in the game, less injuries. There's zero downside to it. I don't know why it's not just an obvious no-brainer decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because you hear a lot of the former players. It says like they play and it takes them 3-4 days to recover. Sometimes a short week. If some of them have Thursday night football, think about that. Like, it's crazy. And like I said, kudos to Nelson Aguilar. Whoever was the concussion spotter blew their job, and we can't have that. Because that's scary. God forbid something he actually made a play and got hit in the head again. God knows what we'll be talking about today. So there definitely has to be better things in place. Yeah, I totally agree. There should be a second bye week. These guys take a beating every single Sunday, and a lot of them say, like, especially some of the older players, to say it takes them days to get back. And that's how some of them, like I was listening to my friend recently, Tiki Barber, said he knew his career. He was wanting to retire because there was a player that kept on hitting him in one game, and he just would go to the sideline and just be like, I just don't want to get hit anymore. Like, my body, I can't sleep. I can't do this. And then they have to expect to play. So, a couple of days later, some of it, like I said, Thursday night football. So I totally agree. There should be something for concussion protocols way ramped up, and definitely for the health of these players on the second bye week or some way that they can rest up, minimize practice in between week, whatever the case might be, so that these guys don't have these long-lasting injuries and stuff. Yeah.
I think another point of emphasis too with the NFL is I know that they're obviously like greedy as hell between all the owners and with Goodell, but they really need to like try to mitigate maybe some of these flight patterns too, because maybe having all national games and then back to back on both coasts, I think maybe having some games in kind of co-alignment where you're not getting too far astray from home, week after week for multiple weeks on end, I think may also help a little bit of the travel time where players can get the rest and health they need to.
And I'll leave it on one point. If the year is 2022, okay, we have all these amazing technologies. Like, I'm a structural engineer. I literally use software to build buildings. That's amazing that humanity, we could do that, right? We have crash test software for cars to measure impact and forces, right? Why we can put microphones in helmets? Why hasn't there been any movement to literally put in? We know what a threshold of a concussion is based on force and blows to the brain. You can't put a sensor in the helmet, a little cap that's shows a spike when it hits 1,000 pounds per square inch on your brain, and go, he needs to sit out and get analyzed. Like, we're in modern times now. We don't have to be archaic when it comes to health. Maybe they don't do it because every single player would come out of the game. But maybe we need some modern, technology when it comes to this. Maybe not the grab your hands and give me pressure and follow a light. That works, but like we don't. Sometimes people could cheat that. So we really have to actually use science to our advantage when it comes to the sport.
And there's a lot of great science minds out there, and the NFL has a lot of money. So let's hope for a better future ahead for player safety and the safety of, just player safety. Okay. Anyways, now we're going to go talk about something that Alex Young likes to mention, right? Alex Young says, be careful when spreads are above, 9 or 10 points?
10 points. I hate 10 point or above spreads.
Well, this would be a perfect game to discuss that here. Houston was 17.5-point underdogs against the Dallas Cowboys. They only lost by 4, and they almost pulled the upset. Watching this game, you thought, hey, all right, Pollard scores. This is going to be a great blowout. This Cowboys team is so good, especially on offense with everybody healthy and having essentially 3 great running backs by committee. They might actually beat this spread, but they just had a hard time closing in and scoring. And Houston's defense was having the best game of the year, and they almost pulled this upset off. And it only took, what was it? The final drive was 98 yards off the top of my head. And if only the competent defense was back at it in this final drive, Houston would have pulled off this victory. But they didn't. Regardless, a win is a win. Again, Houston is just tanking. We know this is they are definitely getting the number 1 pick. And another thing you could debate later, if you're going to keep one of your quarterbacks and Mills, you're going to draft, somebody else out of it. But with Dallas, though, they still have a comfortable 2-game lead, 2-game lead over the other wildcard teams. They are 10-3, but is there really anything to add about the Cowboys moving forward, almost losing to Houston that only has 1 win? Is there anything really to add, or this was just a fluke and they maybe were a little too comfortable?
I'll have 2 reactions to this. My initial reaction, I hate cursing on radio, but dude, we're fucked.
So you really saw this as an alarming game.
That's my initial reaction. What did I say last week was my worry? The cornerback too. And what happened? A Chris Moore, who doesn't even sound like a football player, went 10 catches for $124, and Amari Rodgers had 4 catches for 57 and a touchdown. Thank God Brandon Cooks was hurt, because he would have he probably would have beat Calvin Johnson's record for most receiving yards in a game at this point. The secondary at the cornerback position, outside of Trayvon Diggs, is in shambles. Bums. I'd rather cut them and sign college players that got cut from the walk-on team, and just at least because they have heart. I'm embarrassed by the secondary. All they could do is hit hard, and they can't cover. It's aggravating. And Dak Prescott continually proves to me that he was overpaid. And yeah, he did a game-winning drive. Good for him. Kirk Cousins has done a ton of those this season, even though we know he's whack, but still manages to come clutch this year somewhat. Dak is just lucked out with 98-yard drive against the worst team in the league. So I really don't give it that much show. But this team right now, yeah, they'll beat Tampa Bay maybe if they make it the 4 or 5 seed, just because they have our number. But we play Philadelphia, we're gonna get smoked. It's not even like a contest. All these numbers are just inflated. This team's not a good team. That was my initial thing. Then I dialed it back. We're okay still. The defense had its worst day possible, and Dak Prescott is still rusty from the injury. But I'm still worried and sketched out by them. So to be continued.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
It's no fun dogpiling on the Cowboys if the Cowboys fans going to dogpile on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it
takes all the fun out of it.
Does take all the fun out.
No, do it though, because this is what I mean when I'm saying I'm a realistic Cowboy fan. Should I not be afraid after that?
You should be.
mean,
yeah,
it was a trap game. I mean, Obviously, it was a trap game. I think you're facing another trap game, that's even more of a trap this week. So I'm looking forward to that one. But I thought the Texans would cover last week. I mean, the Texans, like you mentioned, the Texans always play the Cowboys close. I mean, every Texans game that I've watched this year, like, yeah, they've been losing all these games, but they're not getting blown out of these games. So it's like they look like they're trying every single game. So it wasn't going to be like, oh, you're going to walk in there and blow them out, which is why I was like, I don't know why this point spread would be so high, but I think the thing that comes out of this game for me is that Dallas seems to get bored sometimes, and they lose their poise, they lose their composure. I mean, the defense is better than that. They shouldn't have been allowing, like the Texans to control the game the way that they were. I mean, Dallas averages 27 points per game this season. They scored 27 in this one. Obviously, wasn't as clean as you wanted to. That second interception by Dak was horrendous. So, I mean, obviously there's cause for concern, but I don't know. I still think this is a great team. I think that we're going to know exactly who Dallas is after they face the Eagles on Christmas Eve. But I think the worst thing coming out of this week for the Cowboys was actually the news that you lost. What was it? Your offensive tackle? It was a torn ACL, I think.
Yeah, Terrence Steele. Luckily, we have Jason Peters at the whopping age of 40 to play right tackle, who actually played an amazing game in the fourth quarter. So, like, kudos to him. Thank you, Philadelphia, for molding this man. And we luckily next week we're getting Tyron Smith back. So
Yeah,
we're gonna in my personal opinion, they're gonna put him at left tackle. They'll bump down the rookie Smith, Tyler Smith, to left guard. But in my opinion, I rather put Jason Peters at left guard just because Tyron Smith and Jason Peters on one side of the line would be a wrecking crew in the run game. And you put the rookie at right tackle just to get him comfortable with being flexible because obviously this offensive line will never be 100% healthy for the rest of its tenure in the next few seasons. So he's definitely going to be the best guy who's going to have to be able to move around like Zach Martin did. So I would like to see that. But I'm upset and afraid, not because, I knew the Texans would play well against them. It's just the way that they almost lost this game. The lack of discipline, the muffed punt, the interceptions, the allowing the big chunk yards in the run game and the receiving yards. Like, this is I continually will always say it, under Mike McCarthy, it's a very undisciplined team. They have he's a yes man. He's a Jerry Jones guy. It's like
straight
Barry
up don't
Switzer.
respect him sometimes.
Don't respect him. It's like Barry Switzer. You should watch this. Everyone should watch the 30 for 30 on Troy Aikman and how he talks about Barry Switzer, who was his college coach, but then when he was in the NFL, he just could not rally men. Like, after a bad practice, he would end practice. Troy Aikman wanted to literally get people on the line to sprint. You know what I mean? Like, you don't see that with this team. Like, Dan Quinn would literally run these guys until they vomit, until the sun goes down. Like, they have no discipline under this head coach, and literally, and that's what scares me because they quit on themselves and they get soft. And this is not conducive football for winning a championship.
I think
it really is like that time. Sorry to interrupt your point, Alex, but I'm just saying, Brian, you really are going to watch this Cowboys team make the playoffs, may even get a high seed, and you really have no confidence in them at this moment.
Zero. There's no doubt in my mind if Tampa Bay makes the playoffs that Tom Brady beats them because Tom Brady has our number. And I would not be shocked. It's just the discipline with this team, they're soft. They're so soft. It's ridiculous.
I think it's more of an indictment on the coaching, like Brian mentioned, and Dallas defense, because I think you may get a little bit of inconsistent play with Dallas on a weekly basis on the offense, but I think I would argue that Houston could have won this game if it wasn't for those two costly penalties on the O-line on the final drive. I think there was plenty of time for Davis Mills to at least get them back, in range to score again. And I think that that corner situation is definitely not being overplayed in terms of how crucial that is. I think it was a tough day for Dak. Obviously, 24, 39, 284, and 2 picks and a touchdown. It's just not going to cut it. But I think that ultimately, I think some of those 10 wins so far this season are more of a byproduct of the schedule. I think that's a very weak schedule. And I think that this game against Jacksonville next week, kind of like Desmond alluded to, I think that's probably the best trap game of the schedule. I think that Jacksonville is playing with, they're playing with fire. They have nothing to lose, and they look good against Tennessee. I mean, it was like they have something going on, and I think that Dallas hasn't really learned their lesson yet.
Right. So I think let's move on to this game because it really has more of an impact for this division moving forward. But the Eagles and the Giants, Eagles punch their playoff ticket, Giants straight up get their ass kicked. And I knew it was over when the long snapper bounced the ball into the puncher's hand. And this was so bad if you're a Giants fan, so great if you're an Eagles fan. It's funny how the two guys who don't have a dog in the fight, their cameras go off. So I guess we could have a discussion between the three of us on this one. Giants played so undisciplined. They were a mess all over the place. Another bad game for Saquon, as we talked about before, that Saquon sometimes just feels like the entire offense. And not a good game from Daniel Jones, and just everything worked for the Eagles. There's a reason why they're 11-1, and they almost play a perfect football game. And when the backup quarterback comes in, and it's not as a course of an injury, it was bad. I mean, luckily, all we could say, Alex, is that thank God the Seahawks lost, because in this game coming up against Washington, we're still in the fight with it, and we know the Seahawks are playing San Francisco on Thursday. But the thing I have to say, and then I'll go give the floor to you guys, is Giants really are a year away, if anything. I still want them to get to the playoffs, get the momentum, get the postseason experience, but this team really can't do much, especially with the lack of weapons. Not that I doubt that would have helped if we had Jerry Rice and Randy Moss in their primes playing, and it was an ugly game for Big Blue, and reckon you are playing arguably the best team in the NFL, and still they did not show up to play.
Yeah. It was disappointing watching that game. Like you guys know,
Did you go to that?
No, I was in the city.
You're like, I knew I'm not gonna waste my time.
I was in the city working for the league. I was doing a big stream, which was fun.
You were talking about.
Yeah, so we had like red zone behind us before the show started, and every time I turned around, it just seemed like the Eagles were scoring, right? But I went back and I watched the film, and I was just like, I knew when it was 14-0, like the Buck I knew it was kind of over from there. And and the reason why was because I saw Saquon wasn't doing well. And I told you guys weeks ago what was my number one fear for this Giants team was what would happen once defenses figure out all you have to do is limit Saquon and focus on Saquon and put the ball in Daniel Jones's hands. And with the lack of receivers we have and everything like that, the Eagles used that to their advantage and wiped the floor of the Giants. And the other part of it, and I think, is we know our expectations for the season were low, and we started off really, really hot. And now looking back on it, I kind of wish we kind of had like a up and down, but still where we are now. Because I feel like since we started 6-1 and it's we're like, oh, okay, this is like such a great season. This is looking like a promising season. And then the wheels fall off finally. And we're at the level of where we all thought we were going to be in the offseason. So this was kind of the game where everyone kind of realized, like, we have a shot for the playoffs. It's great, but due to the lack of weapons and all these other things, we're just not ready yet. And it sucks. Yeah. It's disappointing. But there's a lot of factors into it. And like I said, now these defenses this last month have been stop Saquon, and the Giants don't know what to do.
Lost 4 of our last 5.
And that's what's happening. And we lost 4 of the last 5, and it sucks and it's brutal. And Desmond is gonna, be happy with seeing what he saw and everything like that. But it was disappointing for the Giants, but the Eagles showed why they're still one of the top teams in the league, and they took advantage because their game plan worked extremely, extremely, extremely well. And they just exposed every single Giants weakness on both sides of the ball that whole game.
What do you got to say, Desmond?
I'm not going to spend too much time focusing on the Eagles. I mean, I was happy.
My team is good.
Well, no, it's more or less because, like, I don't have anything to criticize. I mean, because honestly, being an Eagles fan growing up, watching the McNabb years, Michael Vick years, the years that led up to Carson Wentz and, so on and so forth. Eagles just had a streak so many years of finding like ways to like blow it in the big moments, and this team looks poised. So I'm in a holding pattern right now. I want to see this Dallas game. Like that's what I'm waiting for right now. Like I don't want to like look ahead past the Bears, but I need to see what we're going to do against the Cowboys in Dallas. Like that's what I'm waiting for right now. But I feel bad for the Giants. We were giving Daboll so many like good praises in the beginning of the year, but since October 23rd, their only win has been against the Texans. And that's an indictment on this coach that was apparently so great and was galvanizing the locker room, so on and so forth. Saquon Barkley was said to be having like a neck injury that he was dealing with going into this game. And I knew that like that was going to be the end of it for them because he's their whole offense right now. If he's not special, the Giants don't win. They have a very mediocre offense. The last 4 games, they've scored 22, 20, 20, and 18. So they score about the same amount of points every single game. But their defense is also letting up 28, 31, and 48. So you can't be a mediocre offense with a horrendous defense, which is what they are currently. And so I am backing off my original thought that they could get into the playoffs. It feels like they're poised to slide right out, and maybe the Lions might steal that spot from them.
I want to give a little love to real quick. Shout out to Brandon Graham, 3 sacks, 4 tackles. 3 of the Phillies total 7 sacks for the game, which was just a complete domination.
Yep. Now let's quick, and then we'll transition.
Hot take. I don't think you guys are a year away. I think this team is still like very far away because you have a boom and bust running back who's going to eventually fall off drastically. That's just the name of the position. No quarterback. Your best receiver is Richie James Jr. and Darius Slayton, who are borderline wide receiver.
Don't diss Isaiah Hodges like that. I'm just joking.
Okay.
I'm just joking.
Your tight end is a tight end one. He's a good tight end. But on defense, like you have maybe like, I don't know, half of your roster on defense could stay next season. Like you guys aren't close. You won against overrated Titans team, the Panthers, who are the Panthers, the Bears, Packers, Ravens, and Jaguars, and Texans. Like they're not playoff teams. Like you lucked out on schedule. Like I think it's coming down to the Giants, where maybe the more fool's gold than the Minnesota's Vikings. I would even say this season.
Ooh,
I was the one who did say the year away, and Alex had a better way of expressing just not ready yet. And that's what we'll see what Joe Shane does in the offseason. But at the end of the day, we still are in contention for a playoff game, to be a playoff team. And you can't take that away, playoff team, even whether we deserve it or not. And we'll see on Sunday night, a game that's flexed, a game we know that Daniel Jones has had a hard time winning in prime time, which has been never. But focusing on the here and now, let's just focus on Washington and go from there. And if, I'll say, well, if we lose, better chance for the draft pick. So we're playing with house money there on this. So yes, it's true. We're not ready yet, but we'll see what the future brings and what we do with Daniel Jones. And again, that's a discussion if they want to put a franchise tag and pay him $31 million after. But with this, and very much a statement that could be true with what Desmond was saying with Detroit playing Minnesota, they went 34-23, and they were here to stay. They're here to play. Jared Goff had an amazing game. Over 330 yards passing, a few touchdowns in there. The return of Williams adds more life to this offense. Everything was clicking. And for people who thought that Kirk Cousins at the 1 p.m. hour was going to be special, it just wasn't special enough. Detroit now really making a push for the playoffs if Dan Campbell, and you just wish, if you're a Lions fan, if we just won some games earlier in the season, we'd be in a more comfortable position. But it seems now that Minnesota are frauds, even at 10-3. It seems as the weeks go by that they are, that they really are under. They even though the wins show they're winning, they have a lot of work to do with their first year head coach. And then Detroit, like I said, people really are high on Jared Goff and what they're pulling off right now. So out of this game, what really stuck out for the future of both teams who have interesting futures ahead going into the rest of December?
I would say Jared Goff is the guy, and you got to use that pick on defense this season. It's a no-brainer to me. Like, he's putting up top 10 quarterback numbers. He's around 6, I think, in QBR, 20 TDs, like 7 or 8 interceptions, and he's probably, what is he in passing right now? He's 8th in passing. Like, he's doing everything he can. In my opinion, they have the best young wide receiver trio in the league with Chark, Brown, and Williams now. So, like, they're doing well. And then when it comes to Minnesota, the defense is just really holding this team back considerably. And yeah, they need to find a defense this offseason. That's going to be because the offense is there. They have Jay Jetta, like TJ Hawkinson and Thielen. Like, they have weapons, Dalvin Cook. Like, it just, they got to be able to hold on to leads.
Yeah.
The Vikings are frauds, and I hope that one guy on TikTok sees this. Because the Vikings are
Yeah, he was going
frauds.
nuts. He was going off on me for no reason. Like, come on now.
Let me find his name.
You got to just look at reality
going.
here, man. I mean, the Vikings have 10 wins and they have a negative point differential. The San Francisco 49ers have 9 wins and are plus 120 points. You know, it's not even comparable. The Vikings have lucked into so many of these wins. They're not a good team. This is the most overrated, like, 2 seed I have ever seen in my life. Whoever they play, the 7 seed, I don't care if it's the Giants, the Commanders, the Lions. I don't care if, like, the Panthers sneak up into the 7th seed. Whoever the 7th seed is will beat the Vikings in that first round wild card matchup. Vikings are trash.
That'd be a home game for them too.
And you know what? I feel bad. Minnesota fans are great. They're loyal. I think they're a real fan base, unlike some other fan bases in the NFL, which are trash. But this team is not good. Lions, quick take here. Brian's 100% right. They need to like reinvest in this offense. Goff is good. The receiving core is good. The running backs are good. Go get a D lineman or a DB. Like, you got to, like, go all out on defense this year because the offense is for real.
Yeah. By the way, shout outs to the guy's name's Big Bug Jank. My official Twitter account, Big Bum Up, aka the tag team champ, aka Cody Owell's manager. So, okay then.
Well,
You were saying, Ryan?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Oh,
you want
excuse
to go,
me.
Young?
I thought of that.
You go, Alex. I'll go after.
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. I mean, I definitely am still going to stick by Minnesota, but I do agree that there's definitely some truth to the fact that they're no different than the 7th seed in terms of how weak some of these teams in the NFC are outside of San Francisco and Philadelphia. I think after you get past San Fran and Philly, a lot of these teams could win on any given Sunday if they're head to head with one another in the playoffs. I would make the argument that Detroit has a chance to win out the rest of the games this year, and I think that firmly they probably will make the playoffs. All things considered, I think that Jared Goff played near a perfect game, as good as you can get, and I think that people are just not giving him the credit that's due because he's been around the league and people know what they know of him and his reputation with the Rams. I just think that this team, Detroit, is hot at the right time, and I think that I got to give a little bit of shout out to the defense because they did keep Dalvin Cook to 22 yards on the day, and I thought that was really impressive.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say with the Lions, I think we all knew their offense was there most of this year. It was a defense that was kind of losing them games late. Props to Goff. I think they found a system that works for him like he did when he was with the Rams, and we know how successful he was early on with that. And he's just having a great year. But I think the defense as of late has really turned it around, and I think, like everyone said here, they really need to focus in the draft on this defense because I think we're finally going to eventually see a Lions team that's good. That's shocking, I think, for all of us to hear. But I think the future is kind of bright with this Detroit team if they spend their draft picks correctly. And they probably, I think they have a good amount of money in salary. I could be wrong, but they could make some splashes and additions to their defense this offseason. And with the Vikings, yeah, I agree with everyone. I think they're flawed. I think
that's
anyone
a nice way to say
can
it.
beat them compared to a lot of these other teams that we're seeing where we think that they can make deep runs. I think this is the team we think is probably going to be an early exit, which is surprising with their record. But if you're comparing them to the 49ers, you're comparing them to the Eagles, they can lose to any of these bottom seeded teams. So, which is crazy to think, but we've seen it, before. So, I think they're very, very flawed. I think they're very, very beatable. And if they, don't get this defense on track in these last few weeks, I think they could be upset in the playoffs.
I want to just clarify too. Like, I think two things can be true with this Minnesota team, because I think that very much like I do think they're a real team that is just winning a lot of tight games. Like, but I also don't think that there's any difference between them and the seventh seed. So just because they have a minimal point differential doesn't mean that they're not winning effectively and winning fair games. I think there's a lot of good elements to this team, and there's a lot of things that are being paid due week after week that they're winning on. They can hold their hat on. But I totally do also agree that there is really no difference in the field outside of San Fran and Philadelphia in the NFC.
Jacksonville played Tennessee at Tennessee, and at one point it was a 14-7 game, and then Trevor Lawrence helps lead this offense to have 29 unanswered points. You got to be, I really think Trevor Lawrence is figuring out the NFL system. Yeah, I mean, he's playing really well. The future is bright in Jacksonville. They won't make the playoffs, but the big thing, and people really wonder, can Trevor Lawrence make it in the NFL? I think he's really proven in the last few weeks that he can. And he's staying healthy too. I don't think he's missed one game yet since his rookie year started. So props to there. We're reckoning a couple weeks ago he had a little injury problems that people thought might silence him, but he's back again and helping produce wins. Tennessee is I think they're also a flawed team. And if you don't have Derrick Henry, this team might be winning only 2 or 3 games this season. Derrick Henry had a great game, but it seemed that no one else can compete with them, especially with the firing of their GM last week. Tennessee, I think if they make the playoffs, they won't be lasting long, and I don't really think there's much to discuss here. But Mike Vrabel, if he only had better players, I really think he'd be one of the best coaches and really revered.
Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
I think if they were smart this offseason, they would trade Derrick Henry. Because I think they need draft picks, they need assets. This team is nowhere close to winning a Super Bowl with him. And I think that they're at 7-6. I think they might possibly finish with a losing record. If you're gonna go 500 and barely make the playoffs, just lose and tank and get good picks. You know what I mean? Like, at that point, it doesn't matter. And he's aging asset on this team, and the window for this Super Bowl, in my opinion, is over, because every year he plays, he's going to get worse and worse and worse. That's just the name of the game at running back. So I think they need to consider everything on the table, like blowing up this team.
Yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, like in the NFL, if you don't have an amazing quarterback, you have to be amazing at every position. The Titans aren't. Like, they need to move on from Tannehill. They need to probably just blow up the team and start over.
I thought, just a little comment on this game too, because I think I was really impressed with the Jags defense. They had 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and a pick. I thought it was really tremendous output, particularly to back up and bolster Trevor Lawrence, put him on short fields. But I also think that this was just like a really nasty, sloppy game. Both teams combined for 14 penalties, 120 yards. And I think that ultimately you're going to get a lot of that when you're playing divisional games. The only thing I'll say with Tennessee is they're going to back into a playoff spot similar to the way that Tampa is. And I think it's more of a referendum on their situation than it is with Tampa, because we have more of the explanation behind Tampa, but not necessarily with Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that's some excellent points there. And it's too bad in the Music City that they can't get the wins that they've been waiting for a long time. But oh well. Another week, another win for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow beats the Browns for the first time, their 5th in a row. Returning Mixon makes things even more excited in Cincy. Browns suck. They make bad decisions. Deshaun Watson didn't do anything special in his second game back. And the running back by committee didn't do much in Chubb and Hunt either. But I think Cincinnati is really, really, really something to look forward to. And now that everybody's back and also the offensive line improving, there's no reason why that they can't make another deep push once again. How about Cincinnati?
Yeah, I like Cincinnati a lot. I know they, for some reason, had a tough time with Cleveland, but they proved it again that they're a very good team. I think we all were surprised with their slow start, but now everything's clicking. And I think they're a team to watch. I really like them. And what they're doing on both sides of the ball. They're just a very well balanced team. I think they're a dark horse team to make another deep run. Do I see them in the Super Bowl? I don't know, but I think they are a team that has everything clicking right now. They have all the momentum, and I think that everyone should be watching what the Bengals are doing for the rest of this year.
I don't know if you can be a dark horse if you're the defending AFC champions.
Well, I
You
think
know,
everyone's just throwing everything at the Chiefs right now, or the Bills, and I feel like not everyone's giving credit to Cincinnati, especially what they did last year. I know they're defending, but I feel everyone's like, yeah, it's Mahomes, it's Josh Allen.
Bengals have
the
the most
Bengals
well-rounded team, I think, in the AFC right now. I wanted to see if they could keep stringing things together. I think they got a little bailed out this week, though, by the Browns, who went complete reverse in their identity.
Mm-hmm.
They let Deshaun Watson throw it 42 times, and they had 18 rushing attempts between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. That's not their identity. That's not how they play. I think they're trying to like justify Deshaun Watson's contract or getting him back into the flow of the NFL, whatever the case may be. It was a losing strategy, and they deserve to lose that game. The Bengals win the games they're supposed to win, which is why I think they're a very dangerous team. And I believe that if they beat the Bills on that last Monday night game of the season, that they are going to the Super Bowl.
That's gonna be exciting to talk about at that point for sure. So we had the Ravens and the Steelers play. Kenny, there's something about Steelers quarterbacks who get hurt. The backup comes in and throws 3 picks. That happened now twice. I want to know if that ever happened before. But Ravens with Huntley at the helm play a close game, and I mean, really depended on the return of J.K. Dobbins, and he just went in. It's like he never missed a beat. And now they have to figure out when Lamar Jackson comes back in the next couple of weeks, what are they going to do? They are 9-4. It looks like there's a great chance they will make the playoffs. But it only sucks when you're trying to build your team and your quarterback is not going to be there in the last few weeks. But taking advantage of a Steelers team that seems to just going through the motions. Not a good game for them, but regardless, where do you see the Baltimore Ravens going forward with a quarterback that they know they're ultimately going to change for the playoffs? And we all know their defensive issues that they have, especially in closing games. That's why it was a good thing for them to play a weak offense with a rookie quarterback still trying to figure out what he's doing. But the Ravens, do we see anything of note here, especially with what I mentioned with the roster having so many changes?
I think that the limited quarterback just utilization now with Huntley and then Anthony Brown played is that they're going back to the run game, which they started to go away from this season because they wanted to develop Lamar Jackson as a passer, which I understand. It's not working though. And they do better when he has breakaway read option plays, and they run the ball 42 times. They ran the ball 42 times this game. They had 250 rushing yards on a touchdown. They controlled time of possession. They only had 94 yards on offense and passing. So that goes to show you that they can win just, one dimensional on just rushing. But, the defense played a very good game as well, but they played a bad offense. So I'd like to see them develop the run game and pick up steam because Dobbins hasn't played much. Edwards hasn't played much. They're going to need those 2 guys to really be ready for playoff time for those crucial carries. So I think it will help them.
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree. It's also, I guess, great for the Ravens that kind of their quarterbacks will have similar play style, but obviously Lamar is just head and butt field better than everyone. But I think them going back to what works, like Brian said, was a run game, helped them here because once Huntley got knocked out, they were going to another quarterback. and they just got lucky they were playing the Steelers, and they just hung on to win the game. So
Can't play the Steelers every week.
yeah, but they're missing Lamar. I think they really hope he can come back soon, and get that offense clicking again, and get them kind of geared in the right direction for the postseason.
For sure. And one more game to discuss. You have the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Denver Broncos, winning 34-28. Now, here's the thing I want to ask. What does it say? What does it say about a Chiefs team when they were up originally 27-0, but only win 34-28? For all you gamblers out there, they really do never cover in the Mahomes era with his Broncos teams that is terrible. I mean, we hope Russell Wilson's okay. He had an injury in the game, but I don't know. Good thing the Chiefs win, but there is no reason why they let this Broncos team score over 18 points. But I think that's really not good. You can't let this, beyond the wagering frustrations that some wagerers may have, you can't let a Broncos team score that much on you.
You can really reduce it down to two statistics, which is Mahomes threw 3 crucial INTs, and you had 10 penalties accumulating 108 yards. And I thought that just left the door open, even with a substantial lead, for Denver to hang around, and let their defense kind of lean on them throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, I was going to agree. And also, why did it take 14 weeks for Russell Wilson to look like Russell Wilson again? That is beyond me. That was like the most shocking thing. And I know he got hurt, and we hope he's okay because that concussion was scary. That was my big takeaway. It wasn't the Chiefs at all, because it tends to happen with them. They sometimes get put into trap games or situations and they get bored, and then they still find a way to win. My big takeaway was, why did it take this long for the Broncos to finally look like the Broncos we thought they were going to look like for this whole season to happen at this moment against that team? That was kind of the takeaway I had from that game.
I'll chalk it up to a division game. That's why that happened. But what I really love is that people gave me heat like week 1 or week 2 that Pat Mahomes any day could throw 3 picks or 3 TDs and 3 interceptions, and we see it. We saw it in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. Yeah, he's the best quarterback I have seen in the last 5 years probably, but the way he plays is risky and I don't like it. And he's good for a season. He could get you to the game. But am I going to take Pat Mahomes for one game? Hell no. I'm taking Tom Brady or Joe Burrow, honestly, because they're clutch and they don't turn the ball over. And with this man, he gets happy feet. He gets too excited, and then he just tries to make too many plays. He's lucky that when he threw that pass, I wouldn't even call it a pass, a toss to Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah,
he's lucky. He's lucky that the linebacker just didn't put one hand up and pick it off, or he would have had 4. So
mainstream media is gonna love that.
Oh yeah, put it on, please. How about
it might be the greatest play in the history of football now, according to the mainstream media for them. But
it might be.
They love dick riding Patrick Mahomes.
They like cupping balls for him.
I guess I'll be on the ride train then. The Chiefs have a top 5 offense the last 5 seasons in a row. Patrick Mahomes has gone to the AFC Championship game 4 years in a row.
Every year as a starter.
I'll take him every time. I mean, when I look at him, this situation reminds me of what Peyton Manning had with the Colts. This is a complete failure by the Chiefs front office in building a great defense, because the Chiefs defense is soft. Like Brian was saying about the Cowboys earlier, the Chiefs defense is soft. And it's the reason why they probably won't win another Super Bowl, until they fix this problem, because when they go up against the Bills or the Bengals, they're going to get exposed because the fact that their defense can't keep up with other great offenses. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If your team scores 34 points on offense, and then you let up 28 points to the Broncos, how is that Patrick Mahomes we're talking about right now? What the hell did the Chiefs defense do again? They just take the night off? They're like, oh yeah, we don't feel like playing today. I mean, that's complete garbage, man. These guys are letting this offense down, because as far as I'm concerned, you have a generational type quarterback, and you should be able to shut down good teams. And if you're not, then the front office is to get in there and just completely change the construction of the defensive roster.
No, I was saying before.
Oh,
Well, my bad.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wasn't shitting on Pat Mahomes. Like I do like him. I'm just saying for a one game, leave it, take all, leave it. I'm
Yeah.
not taking him because of the risk. Also, this defense is an issue because of how much money they gave him. You cannot pay him and Travis Kelce, Orlando Brown at offensive tackle, and you can't do that. That you can't spend that much money on offense and expect your defense to be good.
That's not always true, though. I mean, you can get good capital in the draft. I mean, the money's going to be spent regardless. I think they just suck at drafting the right people on defense. They're inept.
The money is going to be spent regardless. That was exactly why they moved Tyreek in the offseason, because they didn't want to pay him the bag and get stuck with a really anemic roster. But furthermore, I think we need just to be more specific too with this defense. I think there's still plenty of talent in front four. They had 6 sacks this game and they had plenty of pressures throughout. I just thought that the secondary is really, really thin and really weak, and I think that's probably where the emphasis should be in the offseason.
All right. Now let's look ahead to week 15 in the NFL and make these picks. All right, gentlemen, let's start with Thursday night, where we have the Seattle Seahawks going up against the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco was going over to San Francisco. Sorry, they are going over to Seattle. San Francisco opens at -3.5. I think the Seattle Seahawks woes are going to continue. They're going to end up at 500, and San Francisco is going to win easily and get another win for Brock Purdy, his first on the road.
I'm feeling a trap game. I'm feeling a big trap game here. I think if Kenneth Walker plays, I think they control the clock enough. And I think Purdy will eventually have his quarterback low and have a bad game. And I think the defense has been playing stellar all season. And like how Dallas's defense is playing stellar all season, they had that one bad game against a team they didn't expect. And I expect this to be the same. I expect the 49ers to not have their top game coming off such a dominant win against such a monument icon of this league in Tom Brady. I expect a little sluggishness coming out on a short week as well. I expect Seattle to win by a field goal.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been on the Seattle train all year, and I gotta get off at this stop, because I thought that for weeks that Seattle would step up to the plate and win this type of a game, but their defense has been absolutely just porous, just like Swiss cheese out there, getting abused by every offensive line. 49ers have like the best offensive line, I think, in the league. They're going to embarrass the Seahawks. I think they're going to run up and down the field on them. 49ers.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. They might have a sluggish start, but I don't think that's going to cost them the game. I think just the 49ers are so talented, and I haven't Seattle started off having a really solid defense, but they've just been not great over these past few weeks. So that's why I'm going to take the 49ers, and I'm going to do the 3.5.
Like A. Young likes to say, if there's one time to use the 10-point spread, this would be it.
I don't know if they're that separated, but regardless, I think San Francisco is winning. So, it's the end of the year when you have Saturday football games. There's going to be 3. Let's start with them now. Indianapolis Colts are going to Minnesota, returning from their bye week. No more T.Y. Hilton. I know that will be missed. Anyways, -4 even for the Vikings. I think they're going to get back into their winning ways with this one. Going to have Saturday Kirk Cousins come in and to bounce back after a tough loss against Detroit. And also coming back home is going to help them. Give it to Minnesota.
Agreed.
Colts, they're up and down this season every other week. So you know what? Let's hit a spike. Jeff Saturday pulls something out of his analyst pocket right now. Matt Ryan wants to show that he's a little bit good still. I feel like the fall of the Vikings is coming every week now.
Colts also. I think it feels like a trap game to me. Colts coming off a bye. Vikings have a weak run defense. Jonathan Taylor.
I think you guys are thinking a little too much about this. I think that they're going to course correct coming home. They'll probably win they'll probably win a tight game, but it'll probably be like a 7-8 point win.
To be fair, you said that last week about the Vikings.
Well, I didn't see this. I didn't see
Is it Alex's kiss of death right there? Yeah.
my kiss of death. Well, I don't know what the policy is on 1:00 Saturdays for Kirk Cousins. They're not very frequent.
Yeah.
I just think I just have more faith that a team like this with playoff aspirations can course correct after a tough divisional loss.
The Ravens are going to Cleveland. Cleveland is opening at -2.5. I say we're going to have, for me, I'm going to go with Cleveland on this one. I think for a messy defense, especially especially for a team that is still trying to figure out what they're going to do moving forward and having quarterback issues, I think if Deshaun Watson is able to get his first victory in 2 years, it would be off of this game. But I think it'll be more of a return running back by committee, Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb as responsible for it.
I think this game comes down to the injury report right now. Tyler Huntley, Demarcus Robinson, their offensive tackle, and Lamar Jackson are questionable. So, if they lose 2 quarterbacks, their number 1 receiver, basically, I don't see them winning. On the same side with the Browns, though, David Njoku and Amari Cooper are both questionable. Cooper was on a snap count with that game with a hip injury. When you lose your number 1 and number 2 options in the passing game, you have to rely on that run game more. So I think the Browns squeak it out, maybe like 3 to 7 point victory, but I think it's going to be a close one.
I agree. I think it's going to be a close one, too. I think we're all still waiting to see the Deshaun Watson statement game. I think this could be it, but I think it's still going to be close. And just seeing the Ravens, especially without Lamar, if he doesn't play, I think, the Browns can sneak a win here.
I think.
Go ahead, Alex.
All I was going to say is I think this is a perfect game to tee up the Browns defense, especially with Myles Garrett in that front four. So I think that they could probably easily take this game.
Technically, the Browns are not out of the playoff hunt, and I think they're at home. Ravens are injured. This feels like an easy Browns win.
Mm-hmm.
And the final Saturday game, which is very, very intriguing. Saturday night, 8:15 p.m., the Miami Dolphins are going to Buffalo to play the Bills. The 8-5 Dolphins playing the 10-3 Bills, 2 games back in the AFC East. Buffalo is opening at -7.5.
Wow.
Do we see Miami breaking their losing streak, getting back in the win column? Do we see the Bills continuing their winning ways and getting people really hyped to believe in them again? If you're asking me, I say the Buffalo Bills are going to pull this victory off. I do think that the Dolphins can cover, but I ultimately think at home, Josh Allen and his team can win.
I also just don't see a team from Florida doing well in Buffalo. It's like
it's supposed to snow, by the way. I believe it's supposed to snow Saturday night.
Okay.
Nice.
Like that's not helping. Tua already can't see over the line. Imagine now he had a few inches onto the ground of snow. He's definitely not seeing over that hill. So it's gonna be difficult for him. I think they're sliding. They only do well when they have a good run game, and that Tua could play action and roll off of that. Jeff Wilson, who is the best running back they have, and Raheem Mostert are both injured right now. Mostert was limited in this game, and Jeff Wilson left this game against the Chargers. So if they don't get that run game and have health there, I think it's going to be a problem for them. So I go with Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Bills, too. I think the Dolphins can cover. I agree with you there, Matt. I think it's going to be a fun game. I hope it's going to be a fun game for all of our sakes with those two playing each other. But I just don't see the Dolphins correct themselves. They have some injuries, and just seeing 2 of these last few weeks, I don't know what he's going to expect against the Buffalo defense with the bad weather. I mean, it's only be like 1 to 3 inches of snow, which is like light work for Buffalo, but again, cold day. But
and that's rain to them.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure, the Dolphins will come prepared and be ready to go, but I think the Bills are going to take this one.
So it was 54 degrees in Los Angeles this past weekend. and they had
Really?
like the stadium had like, there's like an open set side to it. Apparently the Dolphins actually had propane like heaters on their side of the field when it was 54 degrees. So yeah, I'm expecting the Bills to actually more than cover here. I think Bills win by at least 10.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I actually think it's going to be a tight game. I think Miami's going to give it all they've got, but I am going to put this on the record. I think that this is probably the nail in the coffin for them to miss the playoffs. I think that looking at the end of the year for the schedule outside of this game, I think that it's going to be really tough to come back from 3 straight losses, particularly with these divisional matchups.
So this is very exciting. Going to the Sunday games now. We have Detroit versus the Jets. The line is actually even at the moment, so it's a pick 'em. We have the Jets' incredible defense against the Lions' incredible offense. This, like I said, it's a pick 'em. It could go either way. For me, I think that Detroit is going to win this. I think it'll be quite a daunting task to try to ask them to beat this Jets defense at home, especially. But I think they could be good enough to stop them, and we'll ultimately see where it goes there. But I'm picking Detroit. And
Yeah.
with also may I add, excuse me, with all the momentum Detroit is having and the love, I think that's gonna rub off on them really well.
I agree with you, but I feel like these teams are very like mirror opposites of each other, just on their strengths and weaknesses. And I really can't pick a team here. And it's been a weird NFL season, so I'm gonna go with a tie. I think they're gonna
The
tie in
game
overtime.
is going in a tie. Boy, put that on FanDuel right now.
What would be more Jet like in a season where they need to continue to make wins to make the playoffs to get a tie against Detroit? It would just make sense.
And it would just
Is
kill
that
their
a
playoff
Jet
homes at
thing
that
or a
point.
Lion thing though? That feels like that's like pure Lions though.
Do you
I feel like, yeah, I put both of them. It's very them.
So we know that Dan Campbell loves to get fired up. What do you think he would do if he tied?
I think he'd be pissed.
You're still in playoff contention.
I think he
would
walk. I think he'd walk home. I think he'd walk home to Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have seen so many of these matchups over the years, the great offense versus the great defense. The one thing that you always learn is that you get really excited about the great offense and the great defense always wins. And the great defense is at home. I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, as much as I like that what the Lions have been doing these last few weeks, the Lions did beat the Giants. So I have a vendetta against them, and I will go with the other New York team to avenge that loss for us Giants fans. So let's go Jets. I hope they, beat the Lions.
I have an interesting prediction. I say that it goes down to the wire. Jared Goff has a game tying touchdown to send it to overtime, and I say they win in overtime.
The tie is +8. It's +8,500. So Brian, put that in there because you could have a great day if that works out.
You're buying dinner.
I'll put it in right now.
Hey, stranger things have happened, right? So this Sunday night, even though I don't know why it's not. Oh wait, sorry, excuse me. I'm gonna save this after. Eagles versus the Bears. Eagles are going to Chicago. They are -9-point favorites even. The Bears returning from their bye week. I think the Eagles are just going to continue their winning ways. I think they're good enough to cover on this. And it'll be nice to see Justin Fields again, but that's it. Eagles are going to win this and cover.
It should be over by halftime.
Yeah, I was going to say the subs will be coming in out of the tunnel at half. I think it's going to be a wrap. Just seeing what the Eagles did last week, I think they can continue to do that again this week against the Bears.
I wouldn't even start Jalen Hurts at quarterback this week. Let Gardner Minshew get a ride and just get him ready. God forbid you need him in playoffs. Knowing the past history of the Eagles in the playoffs, they always lose a quarterback. So maybe get him some experience. But yeah, no, this game might be the biggest point differential of the season.
I think the Bears cover. I really do. I think the Eagles are in trap game territory. Looking ahead to Dallas next week. You can't overlook the Bears. They have a great offense. They're a great rushing team. We have a mediocre rush defense. I think 9 points is too much.
Really? All right. Respect that. The Falcons are playing the Saints.
Ugh.
New Orleans opening at
Yuck.
-4. Give this to Atlanta on this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Ritter. I liked him in college. It's kind of surprising that the Falcons decided to go with him now at this point of the season, with them still having a shot to get to the playoffs. But I'm excited to see what he does. So I'm going to go with the Falcons, get that first win under his belt.
All right.
I'm taking the Saints because whatever you think should happen in the NFC South, the opposite happens.
That is also a good point.
It's the only reason.
I am going. You can say it, Alex. No, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, this kind of makes no sense from Atlanta's standpoint because they're playing with house money. They still have a chance to make the playoffs. So why are you putting a rookie quarterback out there this late in the season? It just kind of makes no sense to me. So I think out of spite, I'm gonna pick the Saints.
I'm going to go with the Saints on the sole reason that they have the best quarterback in their division at backup right now. Hot take in Jameis Winston, and
You love Jameis Winston.
Love Jameis Winston. Has
I
a great
like
arm.
Jameis too. Yeah,
Has a great arm. He learned how to not throw picks. And
Remember how
got an
mad you
injury.
got about with him? You were like his mom out there defending with those injuries off.
Well, when you get hit in the spinal cord, it's it's your spine. You know what I mean? In the words of Mike Tyson, it's spinal, so you got to be careful. So yeah, I think the Saints just win because the defense is more well rounded.
Oh yeah.
Steelers are going to play the Panthers in Carolina. Carolina opening at -2.5. Sam Darnold's going to continue to win.
Yeah, this team's they're hyper motivated. They still got a shot. The window's open in that horrible division. So I got Carolina winning.
Yep, I'm going with Carolina in this one as well.
Same here.
Yeah, my last rule still applies. Whatever you think's going to happen, it's the opposite. Steelers. Not only that, they're going to have more fans in the stands than the Panthers will.
For sure.
The Cowboys are playing Jacksonville. The Dallas opening at -4.5. Dallas is going to Jacksonville, by the way. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to win this. They're going to cover, and they're going to give heart attacks to all the Cowboy fans, and they're going to start getting their picket signs ready for when they have their ultimate demise, as the Cowboys fan in this group said. Then this is going to be the true beginning of the end. Trevor Lawrence is going to really, really make some noise defeating Dallas.
So remember how we said that there was going to be like more Steelers fans than Panthers at home. There's going to be like 90% Cowboys fans in Jacksonville because no one's a Jaguars fan except for people in London. But I actually have Jaguars upsetting. So this is my trap.
I have Jacksonville beating Dallas on the sole reason.
I don't think you're a Cowboys fan.
No, I am a Cowboy.
Can't
No,
do
I am.
this.
I really am. I'm just mad at them. I just don't like the way they handle. I will never be fully happy with a Dallas Cowboy team until two things: Tony Romo's the head coach, and Jerry Jones is 6 feet under. And that is when I will be happy as a Cowboy fan because Jerry Jones is ruining the franchise every single year because he is a tyrant in the NFL.
He's an oil man, of course.
Yeah, come on, big oil. It fixes everything down there in big old Texas. But yeah, no, Jacksonville has the better offense right now, in my opinion. And I think my defense is in a big lull right now.
I
Please tell
love
me
Jerry
that
Jones.
we're putting that one up on TikTok. Okay. I gotta say it's uncomfortable again piling on the Cowboys when the Cowboys fan is piling on the Cowboys. I think Cowboys have a similar game to last week. Squeaker. They find a way to win in the end, like 27-24 type of a game. But I think Jacksonville puts like the fear of God in them, and they're gonna go into next week feeling a little shaky.
Yeah, I completely agree with Desmond. I think the Jags are going to cover, but I think they're going to really wake up the Cowboys. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think the Cowboys are not going to be ready for it, and I think it would put some shock in them. So I completely agree with Desmond, but I'm going to go Cowboys winning a close one, but the Jags are going to cover that spread.
The Chiefs are going to Houston this week. Chiefs are opening at -14 even.
No.
You guys already know my answer to this one.
I think it's gonna be like, as I mentioned, the Chiefs will win, but they won't cover. And I think Houston's gonna give them another great effort.
Agreed.
Like they did last week.
Yep.
I don't touch 10. And I will never go over 11.5 or higher. And we saw why last week. That is my case study right there. This is why you don't go 17.5 and pick a Cowboys team, because you have no idea what can happen on Sunday. And I feel the same thing can happen here. That's a big spread. Anything can happen. So Texans cover. You want to try to get some money? I say they cover. Chiefs are going to win that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans cover again.
The card negative.
Oh,
I'm
wait.
sorry,
Yeah,
didn't
I was
mean
going
to
to say, I think the Texans have a full view of like Bryce Young, like right in their face. I think they're rolling out the tank this week. I think the Chiefs won by 21. I think the Texans are just they're just planting. They're done. They're just done. They're giving up on purpose. So
Well, they kind of did show that last game too.
yeah, I
Going
think
on a
Chiefs will
4th and
actually
goal,
cover this time.
Instead of taking the points, going forward on 4th and goal instead of taking the points, they kind of showed, something's going on here.
Yeah, the tank was rolled out for that play.
I think being generous to Alabama that they're looking at Bryce Young.
Oh, let's save that debate for the offseason.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be a big debate.
That will be.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is an awkward game. The Cardinals are going to the Broncos. Denver opening at -3. I think Denver's gonna win this one.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit looking at this.
I did too. I got a bad taste. I've been eating like chips on the side here, and I got a bad taste in my mouth mid-chip just hearing that game.
It's gonna be like 9-3.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. I don't even know. I mean, I don't even know if Russ is going to play. If Russ is playing, I'll go with Broncos. But you know what? Screw it. Former backup quarterback for the Giants, Colt McCoy, who won in Seattle for them. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I'm going to take Colt McCoy.
There you go.
You know what? I'm actually going Broncos because Russell Wilson's not playing. That's my whole reason. Broncos.
Let's ride.
I'm gonna take the Cardinals just because, like, why not? I usually am right about picking J.J. Watt. Great games by him. I did it a couple of weeks ago. I think J.J. Watt has like a 3-sack game just to show that he's relevant still.
The Patriots are going to play the Raiders. Josh McDaniels versus Bill Belichick. New England's only opening at -1. I'm gonna give the Raiders of this one. As I mentioned, I think the internal issues for the Patriots are going to really show on the field. And I'll say one thing: the Raiders don't take advantage of that. This is as putrid as it gets, but they really need to take advantage of a team that seems to not even like each other. And if you still lose to that, what do you have?
That's what I'm saying. Thank you very much. You left that right on a silver platter. This team can't even get out of a wet paper bag. They're an embarrassment.
We should have all picked the Raiders just to get Alex annoyed.
Go ahead.
To get him fired up.
Yeah, you have fun with that pick.
I'm on top of that, actually. I'm having Raiders by 10. You know, that's actually how I feel about this. In fact, not only that, but I will also say that this is the last game of the season that the Raiders win, so it's going to be a great way to go out for them.
You guys are not good friends.
Alex, I'm not even trying to mess with you. I am going Raiders here, but I'm not going 10. I am going Raiders here. I think McDaniels wants to show Belichick that he could be a decent head coach, and that's the only reason why I'm picking them here to win that game.
And the Patriots are just suspect anyway, so they're not a great team.
Yeah, exactly. That's why. There was one of my freshman football years, right? We lost a game once 2-0. Maybe this would be the one thing that could happen here. True story. In the cold, in the snow in Fairfield. In Fairfield, actually, Brian. Lost Fairfield will award 2-0. Like, this is what's gonna happen here. And this is high school. But like, this is what could happen in this game soon, or one of these Raider games. 2-0.
The game ends at 2-0.
Brian, did you pick
in football?
They need to take it off.
I don't even know who to like. I feel like picking this is like like pulling my which tooth should I pull? The top molar or the back molar or the bottom molar? Like I go with the Raiders just because like Derek Carr is a very streaky quarterback, and usually after a bad game he has a great game. So I'm saying the Raiders on that alone. But it's gonna be a close one.
I hope not.
The Titans are going to Los Angeles. Both 7-6 teams. Chargers opening at -3. I think the Chargers are going to cover and get this ball rolling for them, and give Brandon Stanley another year of coaching if they really pull this one, which I think they will.
I'm going Chargers in this one too. It's just, yeah, I don't really have any huge explanation with Matt. I don't really like this game too much, but I'm just going with Herbert. He's been clicking. He made some incredible throws last week, so I'm gonna think he's gonna, take advantage. So I'm gonna Chargers.
I think Titans are motivated to prove that they're not a washed, terrible team. I think they're going to go out to Los Angeles and get this win.
I'm expecting the Chargers to win. I think they're getting hot. Everyone's healthy. Mike Williams looks fantastic in his return. And I think it's really, how could you cover that team? Even their tight end, who is, not the best stat wise, is a very shifty player. And I just think it's too hard on secondaries on this offense.
I got Chargers by 9 or 10. I think that Titans are on a downward spiral right now. And if they do, win that division, which I expect them to, it's going to be similar to, they're going to be a sub 500 team.
You have the Bengals playing against the Bucks. Since he's going to Tampa, since he's opening at -3.5, Cincinnati's going to win their sixth game in a row, and the Buccaneers are going to be tied at least with one of the two teams that are right behind them after this game.
Yeah,
I think this is the second consecutive blowout that we're going to see. I called a blowout last week. Definitely true. Another blowout this week. I think the Bengals win by at least 14. I think Tom Brady's going to look old and slow. The receiving core is old and slow. They don't got a chance in this game.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah,
I think Tom Brady might cry. This game.
Now he's only 3-2 since his divorce.
Oh God, this stat again. I come back at 2 weeks and you're still using that stat. I think this is the lock of the week. I'm going Bengals here. For everyone's points. It's just I have no faith in the Bucks. The Bengals are rolling, and yeah, that's why I'm going with them.
The only
blowout, yeah.
The only thing, Tom Brady, what if he saw the Giselle red carpet pictures and then there's dramatic music in the background? It's like, this can't end like this. Let's go. No. I don't know. Something like that. And then you still know.
No.
All things end with Antonio Brown.
Oh my God. That's one person I don't want to talk about. And I will talk about everything, but not him.
Yeah.
Okay. Sunday night, a game that was flexed. Two teams, 7-5-1. The Giants are going to Washington against the Commanders. Washington -4.5. I have to go with my head on this one. Washington is a more complete team at this moment, and you'll have a returning Chase Young who will eat Saquon Barkley alive. I don't want to say this, but I have to. I think Washington is going to win this game, and they'll cover. But if Seahawks lose, we can still keep our hopes up in the playoff race. But I'm going to have to give Washington this one.
I'm not going to be the biased Giants fan. I'm just saying here. I can't go with what Matt said. I think what we saw a few weeks ago, I know Chase Young is coming back, but they still played the Commanders tough. Mm-hmm. This is the Giants playoff this week. If they lose, they're done. I'm saying it right now. They lose to the Commanders, season's done. But just what I saw a few weeks ago against them, I think they come in, they have a game plan, they know how to stop Heineke this time. And I think the Giants on the road, they always play the Commanders tough. I think they're going to come away with a win.
Hey, from your lips to God's ear for sure.
I always like to say crazy things on this podcast, and I've never seen a team play each other, have a bye, and then play each other
Yeah.
again like this. And you know what? 7-5-2 sounds really good. I'm going with the tie just to cause stress in the lives of Giants and Commanders fans.
Has there ever
7-5-2, a double tie.
Boy, that'd be a mess. I don't know. Has there ever been a team that has two ties? I don't think there's
I'm
ever
sure
happened
there
before.
is.
I'm gonna Google that while you give your picks on that.
I'm gonna take the Giants here. I feel like they got too much pride on that team to kind of let this season get away from the way it has. And I'm just not that impressed with the Commanders. I know everyone's really impressed with them. They're like, oh, they're so great. They're so disciplined. They're so gritty. I think it's a lot of fluff. I really do. I don't think the Commanders are that special. I like the Giants.
I got one.
So according to this, there has never, since the adoption of overtime in 74, no team has had two ties in the same season. Wow. Okay. So we'll see if history will be made this week, Brian. And if you bet that again, it's about plus 9,600. So imagine if you
Brian
hit both.
Nostradamus.
And if you do both, just at $10 each, you'll win over $20,000. So we'll see if that happens.
Gotta put them in.
Combine them. Oh man. Then finally, remember Aaron Rodgers? He's back this week. They're gonna play. So we're gonna have the Rams go to Green Bay, which really is a mess. Monday night, it's even gonna be on ABC. Wow. Anyways, Rams play the Packers. Packers opening at -7. I think Aaron Rodgers is gonna come back, beat Baker Mayfield, who looks like he's gonna be the starting quarterback this week. And Green Bay is going to hype people up for a total of 24 hours, and then they'll realize, oh, yeah, this team sucks ass. Technically in the playoff. It's technically in the hunt, though, but let's be real.
So who are you picking?
Oh, sorry. I'm picking Green Bay in this one, -7.
Okay.
They're gonna cover this one.
Yeah, I've agreed. Packers here. It was great seeing Baker go 98 yards to win a game, but that's not happening 2 weeks in a row. And sorry, Alex. Hearing that on the radio, by the way, was fantastic. If you guys can go hear the radio call of that drive, it's like the funniest thing to me. Like it just excitement for that punt to just absolute craziness for that last minute. It was insane.
I gotta check that out.
But yeah, the radio guys over there did a fantastic job calling that game. But yeah, I'm going with the Packers here. Even though we had a blast ripping Alex on the Baker game winner last week.
I'm taking the Packers all day. I think Aaron Jones will have a big game, but I think Baker Mayfield will play a good game. I think he is going to prove his relevance in these last few games for the Rams.
I completely disagree. I think Baker Mayfield is like the third worst QBR in the NFL this season. The Raiders like really bailed him out by playing like atrocious defense down the stretch. I think the Packers win by more than 10.
I don't know if it's more than 10, but I think the Packers win pretty handily. It should be like a layup of a game. Control the game with the run game for Green Bay, and they should be fine.
All right, so that'll cover this week, guys. Can't wait to circle back in a week to see where this goes. And let's enjoy another stellar week of football. The college bowl games start this weekend as well, so get into that. And let's see what happens, guys. A lot is on the line. Have a great night, gentlemen.